12:05 now in the afternoon, and you're listening to 90.3 FM. Helping Seniors of Brevard is ready to get started. Let's introduce the host of the show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here's Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, and thank you, listeners, for joining us at lunchtime every Wednesday right here on 90.3 FM WEJF, and for those listening online at WEJF.net, thank you for joining us live and in person. And for those of you that catch this as a podcast later, thank you for taking the time. I think you're going to get a lot out of today's show. We were talking about really have the blessing of having some real experts on aging who really serve the community with excellence here today, and was looking for a topic that would kind of tie our conversations all together. And there's an expression that people use an awful lot when it comes to raising a child. They say it takes a village to raise a child, meaning that, you know, mom and dad have kind of maybe the core responsibility, but there's a lot of other people that feed into the development to make sure that the child grows up and is doing well as an adult. But one of the things that I've come to learn, Joe Steckler founded this organization, Helping Seniors of Brevard, all the way back in 2011 is when he officially started this. I think I met him the year before he was beginning to do this, after he'd retired from all of his effort at building Joe's Clubs and kind of building up the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. And I remember him saying to me, he said, Kerry, you know, there's so much work to be done for seniors that we've got to make sure people know where programs exist. We got to know that people know where the resources are, because for so many people, he said, I saw this. He said, a lot of families are impacted by memory challenges and cognition problems, but every family is affected by the challenges that seniors are going to run into along the way. So Joe always talked about creating an aging plan, which is our euphemistic term that we say getting your ducks in a row. It's like a hurricane plan. You don't want a hurricane. You just want to be ready for it. And so as we've talked through that, it really seems like that old saying is true that we use about kids. It takes a village. And it really does take a village if we're going to do the right thing for seniors. And one of the things we've learned along the way is that there is a tremendous amount of excellent resources that exist in our county. We often talk about the fact that 1 in 4 of us is over 65 and 1 in 2 of us is over 50. So we say in Brevard County, you either are a senior, love and care for a senior, give it a year or two, and you'll be a senior. So what we have to say, hopefully, has a lot of meaning for you. And so as we were talking about our guest today, we said, this is really the perfect panel to bring in and talk about some of the things that we'd say when we say it takes a village. So along the way, we've talked about kind of like rule number 1 is you do need an aging plan, get your ducks in a row. We've added a corollary to that, which we say is don't try this on your own. People love to do self-help. And sometimes in self-help, not only do we end up making it harder on ourselves than it needs to be. If you've ever done an internet search, and you probably have at some point, you understand that you can sometimes leave the internet search more confused than you began with, because you really don't have necessarily the right information to make good decisions from what, you know, that search engine is showing you. So, and then on top of that, we have the challenge that for most of us, we have this idea that we can do this on our own, but we also have this idea that if we procrastinate, these problems are going to go away. And unfortunately, with the aging world, our experience tells us over and over, it's not going to go away. So the earlier we catch the train of making an aging plan, the better off we're going to be. So kind of with that as a preamble, let me introduce our guests. Let me start. What is it they like to do? We always take a picture at the end of this, and John Harper always goes, let's get the rose between the thorns. But in this case, we'll go first, and we'll introduce a great friend of the Helping Seniors organization. Her name is Denise Bergman, and she has a wonderful company called Senior Care Authority. And just as a quick, see if I get this right, but as a quick introduction, you're the one to call when you're trying to figure out where somebody is going to find success in senior living. So you're able to walk alongside a family and help them figure out what the best place for mom, dad, aunt, or uncle kind of thing is. Am I saying that the right way, Denise?
Correct. And good afternoon, everybody. That is correct. So I am a certified senior advisor, and what I do is I help seniors or the adults, children of seniors, to find appropriate assisted living or memory care.
You know, and as we go through this conversation today, this is really going to be a panel discussion after I get everybody introduced. But one of the thoughts is that, you know, Denise, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, a lot of times people will look for, maybe they saw an ad on TV, so they call some 800 number. They're talking to a call center in, you know, Omaha or something like that. But you actually walk across the threshold of all these places that you considering to place somebody in. So you really do know and can see good, bad, and ugly and match to make sure that we're finding a right place, right?
That is correct. So we are local, and what we do is we do a discovery call, and we make sure that we meet the needs of our clients, whether that be their medical needs, social needs, and of course their financial needs.
Yeah, it's so important. And that kind of is a perfect lead into, let me introduce our second guest on our panel this morning. He has a home health care company. His name is Carlos Cuesta. In addition to being a pretty funny comic himself, he does. You really were quite amusing at the Boz Talent Show. We didn't know there was so much talent in Brevard County. But on a more serious note, you run Synergy Home Care, and so you're used to helping families maneuver this complicated situation of how do I get the right care for mom, dad, aunt, or uncle, whoever it is here. But again, the same thing. You're local, Carlos, so you know exactly how to find the best folks to provide the care, and then you're right here on site and ready to help wherever that makes sense.
Yes, Kerry, thank you for having me on this afternoon. But yes, we do. Synergy Home Care, I'm the owner, and we work with families all throughout Brevard County. And we when we speak with families, we sit down, we set up a time to come in. We conduct what's called a home assessment. It takes about an hour, no cost at all. And we get to know each other a little better, find out what they're looking for, what kind of a care plan they're looking for that's going to meet their specific needs, their budget, and how we can help them, whether it's a live-in caregiver, whether it's 24/7, or whether it's only one day a week. So I have some clients that may only use this for 2 hours a week. So we really try to fit their needs, how we can help, so we can make their lives a little better, and help seniors stay at home a little longer. Many seniors want to stay at home, the comfort of their home, they feel comfortable there, and that's our goal. How can we help them do that?
No, it's really good. And one of the things I think is kind of cool about your background, Carlos, is that while you've been doing this for quite some time, your corporate background was doing HR for big companies. And so I said, that has to make you really a good people person because you're dealing with folks from every aspect of the continuum there. And so it must mean that you're quite good when you sit down with families and you're trying to negotiate tough situations.
Yeah, we meet all kinds of families, small, large, from different cultures. But the key to our business is having the heart in the right place. When you really want to listen to them and understand where they're coming from and really care about them first, it all comes together. And 99.9% of the time, you leave that home and you really have a true understanding of each other and working together and partnering together. And it just warms my heart each and every time. It's even emotional, but believe it or not, it's a loving business that we're in.
Yeah, that's a thing. I'm going to introduce our third guest in a minute. This is really exciting for me because this is kind of like a debut, and I think it's going to be the start of many good things about how we work together. But, one of the things that we were talking about just before we got on the air is how you can tell a business where the business owners are in it for the right reasons because they will actually pass by business and refer it to somebody else if they think there's somebody who can serve that senior or that family better. And I've seen both of you guys just really take the high road instead of saying, well, that's business I could write. Because the thing that occurs to me is you both have businesses, you have all the expenses of running a business, but you still keep the senior first and foremost. And that kind of brings us to introducing Tom Kammerdener with Aging Matters. He's the CEO. He's the president. You guys have been the rock steady mainstay of supporting seniors in Brevard County since 1965. Wow. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. We're the lead agency for senior services in Brevard County. We're kind of the go-between between both services here. We do everything we can to try and keep a senior in their home. That's our goal. From providing services, from home care, for doing light housekeeping, installing grab bars, ramps. And of course, we're most known for the Meals on Wheels program, but we have 13 senior lunch sites in the county, caregiver support through our Sunflower House, and of course we have our transportation with Senior Transserve and Vets Driving Vets, and something that I'm always reminded to mention, which is our Pets on Wheels program.
Wow!
Because years ago, I ran. So I started at the Brevard Community Kitchen. I was a program director for, started in 2012. I was there for about 10 years, and then I've been CEO for about a year and a half. Wow. But the Pets on Wheels program came as we were looking at it, where seniors are feeding their meals to their pets and sharing, because they had no other choice, no alternative. So working with another community nonprofit, with the Humane Society, created a program to deliver food once a month to those that have pets. So it's been a really great program, and then clients getting what they need, and also their pets are getting what they need as well.
It's so important. And Tom, I was thinking about this because many people know the name Aging Matters, and it stands for really giving excellent service to seniors in this community, to the absolutely best that people. I always say this as a fellow nonprofit helping seniors. I often use this line. I said, we can only help as much as you will help us help others. I mean, so we're always in the business of raising money to keep the wheels turning on helping seniors, but there's no ulterior motive other than to keep helping seniors going so that we can support the seniors and their families that we're tasked with to help. And I see the same with you, the Meals on Wheels program, which is, obviously it's kind of like the flagship. But boy, as I learn more about all the areas that you serve our seniors in, I really say this is the big challenge. We got to let people know that there are great services that are out there.
Again, being around since 1965, but between Joe Steckler and what he's done and what we've done, it's paved the way for senior services and making sure that we're taking care of those that need it. But what we're also finding is that Brevard County is dominated by seniors. Yeah. For every 1,000 people coming into the county right now, over 600 are seniors. Yeah. And that's not going away. So, we need that support, and we need to support each other in these types of groups as nonprofits, as for-profits, to come together to continue to support seniors in the county.
Yeah, and that kind of it takes a village thing. That's what we were just having this discussion not long ago, because number one, seniors are growing for three different reasons that I can think of in general. Number one, more people are turning 65 today than has ever happened in history as boomers hit that age group. So we're just having flat out more seniors, period. But on the other end of the spectrum, and we've talked about this a lot, is that seniors are just flat living longer. It used to be a national television event that they would honor somebody who turned 100. If you remember, there was, I think his name was Willard Scott, and he would get up there and say, Miss, Ima Jean of Kokomo, Indiana, has turned 100 today, and they would make a big deal out of it. Now you walk into almost, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, you'll walk into almost any assisted living and probably serve clients that are in their high 90s, early 100s, and it's not a strange thing as it used to be. So people are just living longer, and that introduces more challenges. But then the third thing, Tom, that you were pointing out is just the number of people who are moving to Florida, and the vast majority of them are, in fact, seniors. So my hope and prayer is in our collective work together, as we talk about it takes a village. If we can figure out how to crack the code to make this, I would really hope that 10 years from now, somebody would look at all the work that we're collectively doing and saying Brevard County knows how to do things for seniors the right way. I wish I could say we're there, but we have a lot of work to do, Tom. You've probably seen it. You started out, you have a big background, as I remember, in medical care, because you worked with one of the big providers here. Then you got into the nonprofit world, but you've been in that role now for, I think you were telling me, like 10 plus years, and now you're in charge of everything that happens with Aging Matters. So you really see the same needs that we're all seeing.
Correct. So working I was in the Health First system for 19 years, again, but running in nutritional services. But my wife also has a background working in Health First, again, over 33 years
Wow.
as a nurse.
Wow.
So we kind of saw everything as that's our foundation. So that is also a nonprofit. So we've been in the nonprofit world, and then going to Aging Matters really brings more of a reality of the nonprofit world, and the needs of that our county for seniors and senior services. You said 10 years. It needs to happen sooner. We really need to bring this together sooner, and that's why we've had discussions about it. And I'm glad to talk to anybody possible that wants to make this a stronger network, because there's only so many dollars out there, and we need to make a louder pitch for what we need to take care of our population in this county, because again, the population is dominant in this county.
Yeah, it's all for one and one for all when we say it takes a village for seniors. And this is another conversation we've had. I always use this as kind of like our rallying battle cry. We say that we love our kids here in Brevard County. We voted in an extra half-cent sales tax so that kids could have the best schools possible here in Brevard County. So every time we go to the store to buy just about anything, we're willing to pay another half-cent sales tax specifically in our county so that our kids can have great schooling. And this is on top of whatever they tack onto your property tax bill, or maybe you're a renter, but it's still, trust me, you're paying for it somehow in there. And so when you add all those numbers together, that's all wonderful, and we need to take good care of our kids because they do represent our future. And yet a point that Joe has talked about for years and years and years is, Kerry, we have more people over 65 than we do kids under 18. And so the real question is, how can we put together some resources that would do the same for seniors that we seem to be willing to vote for our kids? And so I wholeheartedly agree, Tom, with what you're saying about we need to do this, and we need to do this fast. We all need to come together. I said to Joe Steckler early on, our president and founder, I said, Joe, if we do this right, as helping seniors, we're like this little small puppy relative to a lot of the great services. Joe, you built the Brevard Alzheimer's. Look at how important Aging Matters is in here. These are a couple of organizations that specifically are focused on senior needs and things like that. I said, our role here is to complete, not to compete. We've got to all work together. Like I said, it takes a village. Let me throw this question out. This is a panel discussion. So let's throw the question out. What do you guys see overall as what would be the most helpful thing that we all could work on together to improve life for seniors in our community? Somebody want to just take that and start a discussion? What would be like the number one thing that will help our seniors most? And if nobody wants to jump first, I'm going to toss one out there because it's what we do in the helping seniors world. I really believe that in our role we do something called senior navigation, and what that means is whether somebody's calling us on our inbound number, the 321-473-7770 senior information helpline number, or whether they get involved because they're hearing one of our radio broadcasts, they're seeing one of our television programs, they're picking up their copy of Senior Scene. Because I always say it like this: if you don't know something that could help you exist, it might as well not exist from your life.
Yeah, I agree with that, Kerry. There's so many resources out there that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And how can we offer those resources, the knowledge, right? Because you also have to be careful about bad resources.
Yes.
There's so many bad things happening in this world. So, and to save our seniors time and effort, how can we come together so when they do make that call, we're giving them information about reliable people that we all know, that we all trust.
Yeah. And
it's going to help these seniors. Mm-hmm. Because we all have our hearts in the right place. So let's make this a better place for all the people in Brevard.
And I like what Carlos was just saying about trust. That's a huge, huge word. I'm working with a client right now, 89-year-old woman, husband passed away 30 years ago, no children, no family. Her biggest ask for me is, please, can I trust you? Can I trust you? You promise that you'll take care of me. And that just, I tell her, of course I will, but she doesn't know me, so I have to earn her trust. So the wellness series that you do at, senior helping seniors of Brevard are amazing. It was very well attended last week. We had a fantastic panel, and I think the education series are wonderful for our seniors.
Yeah. Tom, I was going to say, so what we did on our panel last week, it was led by one of the our members there in the center. It was Danica Scuderi-Carluccio, who has an organization called Advocates for the Aging, and she, together with Karen Wernland, who actually helps us on the phones, but who has her own senior care management company, they actually did a wellness panel on talking about how important it is to get expert help to go over to help you just manage the stuff that's going on medically. Tom, you must see stuff like that all the time coming across the desk there at Aging Matters too.
Yeah, like Denise mentioned, it's trust. Trust is one of the biggest things, and I think people come to us for that main factor, that they know that we're reliable and know that they can trust us. And same thing with with your organization. It's the fact that that's what we need to give them the resources so they know exactly where they're coming to, and then to dole out that information. We have those cries all the time, and we have a caregiver guide, and we vet our caregiver guide for that same reason. So we have resources beyond what we do to give out, to make sure that people are okay with what's going on, and they can trust the source that we're trying to give. As far as tackling items, it's also, I think we need to break it down into smaller sectors. We keep looking at too large of a picture instead of trying to solve things on a smaller basis. Mm-hmm. Top threes with it being housing,
of course,
food insecurity, medical issues, transportation. I mean, those issues are really critical, and we're not diving into them to the degree we need to focus on them. It's senior housing in this county is horrendous.
Yeah, it's
and
tough.
It's really
it's
an
a
issue.
Big problem.
Yeah, it's an issue for everybody, but as far as being affordability, it's just not there. So
yeah.
And, Karen, back to the health series and the trust thing. Last week was the health series. I have not missed one, but I missed it yet last week.
Yeah.
And I hated to miss it because I never miss them. But it's back to trust. We had somebody that was referred to us, the child of a parent. She lives up in Illinois, and said, my dad needs transportation to get infusion done for his cancer treatment. And we've had bad luck with transportation services. Can you help us? And we don't want him to be alone. So we said, of course we can help you. And I'll personally be involved in that. So we picked him up in the community he lives in and took him to this infusion. Our caregiver sat with him during the process, which is 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And then when they took out the infusion at 12:51 in the afternoon, by 1:10 in the afternoon, he was back in his community. And I helped along with my caregiver. And she was so, not being from Florida, being up in Illinois, that her dad was taken care of. Again, it was a referral, a lot of trust for her dad. And she's like, thank you so much for the kindness and the trust. And that's why we got that referral, and we really hope you would come through. And that's where we all come together as a community to help our seniors.
Yeah, we're going to dig a lot more into this in the second half of the show. Before we get there, I want to make sure everybody grabs a pencil and jots down some important names and numbers. Denise Bergman with Senior Care Authority. If you need some good advice and just looking, and you were happy to talk to people well in advance, how do people get in touch with you if they're looking to try to figure out that place for mom, dad, or whatever might be down the road in terms of senior living?
Yes, I'm happy to speak to my seniors, the children of the seniors. Best way to reach me is just call my cell phone number at 321-549-9045. We'll schedule a consultation call completely free of charge, and my service is also free of charge to my families, as I receive a referral fee from the communities that we place families in. So there is no charge.
Yeah, so you got to give Denise a call. Carlos, if somebody wants to talk to you about like a free assessment or figuring out what might be the good solution to get some extra help, how do they reach you?
Thank you. My number is 321-340-3828. Again, 321-340-3828. That's my office number, but if you call anytime, 7 days a week, 24/7, that rolls right into my personal cell phone number, so we always pick up and get right back to you.
All right. And Tom, before we go to break, what's the best way people can learn more about getting involved with Aging Matters?
Okay. Best way to go is to our website. It's at agingmattersbrevard.org. And we also have a Facebook page. And you can look for volunteer opportunities on there, which would be great. And also our main number is 321-639-8770. That's also for services as well.
Good. Well, thanks, guys. We're going to continue It Takes a Village on Helping Seniors Radio right after the mid-show break. Stay with us.
12:34 now in the afternoon. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard on 90.3 FM. Kerry Fink, it looks like Carlos is really getting into that music, and it never fails. Somebody does on the panel, right?
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about this. So Denise Bergman from Senior Care Authority, she's over there dancing on her side of the room. Carlos is over here playing air trombone. Is there such a thing as air trombone?
I used to play trombone, not very well, but I did play trombone once.
I did not know that, Carlos. When they had the Brevard's Got Talent, you should bring your trombone out next time.
Yeah, that would have been stand up, all right, playing trombone again.
Talking about Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care and Tom Kammerdener with Aging Matters. You too are a dancing star because you're going to talk about what's coming up. It's actually part of a fundraiser, right?
Yes, Wayne Ivy's Dancing for the Space Coast is this Saturday, June 1st, and Aging Matters has been named the charity for this year.
All right.
And, of course, volunteered to dance for the event, and along with another couple, Christine Caravan and her husband, Richard Hunt, as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is great. They volunteered. They've been doing a great job. So when it came down to last year being nominated, I was at the event where they were giving out the checks for the prior year. Children's Hunger Project was one of them.
Yes.
And I think everybody received, I think it was $55,000.
Wow.
And it's an equal payment for everybody across the board. And so I said, I can make a fool out of myself for $55,000.
That would work.
Yeah. I've done it for much less. Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah. So it's been fun. I'm with a professional instructor. It's Heidi out of a dancing dance studio in the Atlantic. She's been great.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess she's the instructor that worked with the winner of last year's event.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's been a lot of fun.
Now, if we're out in the audience and we want to see this, is it too late? Can we get tickets?
Apparently, you can still get tickets.
Okay.
It's again, if you go to the website for just type in "Dancing for the Space Coast," it'll pop right up. And if you do, just do the drop-down menu and just hit my name and sponsor me, and because 60% of the competition is fundraising.
Okay.
Is what you do, and then so that's what I'm trying to do. And
we have to go and do that then.
Yeah. So any donation in the last final run would be great help from anybody. Again, it's all helping the organizations, and it'll help our seniors.
Well, thank you for willing to be a star for our seniors. That's good.
Or a comedian like Carlos.
Well, I was going to say, Carlos, you never know. It could be a comic trombone act. It seems like it's fraught with possibilities.
Are we going to get back on topic again?
Yes. So our topic is our topic for today is It Takes a Village, and that's actually. We're in the entertainment world. We could be the village people, right? So I do, seriously, though, what we were talking about in the first half of the show. So welcome back to Helping Seniors Radio right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, where we are every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. lunchtime hour. And we try to provide, in addition to some amusing banter, we do try to provide information that helps you develop your own aging plan. So whether you're listening to us on the internet at WEJF.net or catching this as a podcast, thank you for tuning in. And again, let me reintroduce our panel today. It's Denise Bergman with Senior Care Authority, a great resource if you're looking for trying to figure out what the long-range best senior living options are in your particular case. It's a great place to go. And then Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care, Palm Bay and Melbourne. It's a great resource to talk to when you're thinking about how do I get a little bit of extra help going to make sure I can manage everything that's going on. And then Tom Kammerdener with Aging Matters. He's the CEO and president of kind of what I would call like the lead agency. You guys have been doing this since 1965, and we're just talking about there's going to be a really big celebration, I think, next year as you guys turn 60 and serving in terms of serving seniors in Brevard. And as we talked about in the first half, there's no shortage of seniors in Brevard County. In fact, the number keeps growing. As we said, because of three reasons. Number one, more people are turning 65, more people are living longer, and more people are choosing Florida to be a great place to kind of age in place. So we were talking about it's incumbent of all of us who care about seniors to do the best possible we can to make sure that Brevard County is a great place for seniors to find the help that they need. And so half of it, I think, at least I postulated, if that's a word I could use, was that we really try to do senior navigation on the Helping Seniors as a nonprofit. We're really not by ourselves too much larger. That's what we can really focus in on, is try to navigate people to a place that's going to make a difference what do they call us? Housing, legal, medical, financial, transportation, you name it, we get the calls on it. But in the spirit of kind of keeping this, it takes a village to take care of our seniors. I wanted to ask you guys, kind of like if you're a family sitting around the dinner table and maybe you're starting to go like, well, I don't know if mom or dad can handle it the way they used to. What are the things that you would encourage a family to do? Like what steps, a lot of times we get calls. The kids came down and visited mom and dad over the holidays, and then they realized when they got back home up north, that's not quite as easy for them as it used to, and they probably need some more help. So what are the things that you would hope a family would start to talk about, Denise?
So that's a great question because many families do that. As a matter of fact, I had this very same conversation about my own mother last week with my dad as she's starting to have some cognitive issues. So what I would suggest is start to plan ahead, attend our wellness events, call the people on this panel as you can speak to people and have a discovery call free of charge and just get that information and resources and, start educating yourself as to what's available out there because there is so much.
Yeah, Carlos, Joe calls it making an aging plan. We kind of call it getting your ducks in a row. But everything I've heard from everybody is that's really like hands-on in the business. They want to talk to families. They'll talk to them in a crisis time. Something's happened now. We've got to find a solution. I understand you guys are great at responding, but it always seems preferable if somebody gives you a call when there's still time, there's lots of options, lots of room for discussions. What's the best course? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, like Denise said, you want to plan ahead of time because you don't want to be in that last minute, as you mentioned before, and then make the wrong decision. Do you want to keep your parent at home? Do you want to place them somewhere? Do you want to put them in adult care? So you have to plan ahead, do your research, and then make the right decision. Because once you make that decision, sometimes it's tough to remake that decision.
Yeah.
So it's making the decision, being connected to someone like Helping Seniors of Brevard to get you the right contacts, the right resource, and then start making those phone calls and sitting down with the resource professionals like ourselves and asking the right questions. Now, what I like to do when the family calls me, I don't, when they first call me on the phone, I try to educate them on the industry, what kind of questions they should be asking. And my thing is to educate them and let them make their own decisions. And then set up a time, hopefully, to meet them and then put together a care plan. And I'll give them advice, whether it's our industry or whether it's placing them somewhere or other resources. So my job really is how do you educate families so they can make the best decisions? And, many times they come back at me and say, Carlos, I appreciate it. I decided to go a different route. But you gave me the education and you cared and you took the time, and I really appreciate that, and that really helped out my family.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a big satisfaction.
Yeah, it's so important. Tom, I was thinking, you have a really complicated job because you have so many seniors who depend on everything that you guys do day in, day out, month in, month out, and year after year. And at the same time, you kind of have to balance all that with getting all the resources. And I'm not just talking about money, but you've got to get the volunteers. You've got to get everybody kind of like motivated to help make sure all this happens. What are the kind of things that you would like to see families spend more time on that would make your efforts at helping them even better?
It's not only the family, it's actually the senior themselves. As you're getting older, start looking at your own plan and what's going on. That's another key thing. What they brought up is actually essential too, is that the family needs to do it before a problem starts.
Right.
Start talking about what's going to go on. Most of our clients, again, are lower income, and that's what comes to our door. You're correct. Getting volunteers is critical. We have more than 650 volunteers in our system, and we need more. We need more. You figure we have more than 105 routes of Meals on Wheels that runs every day, Monday to Friday. So when you figure one driver, five days a week, just for that alone, and then backup coverage, our other services to do the congregate sites, that's all volunteers. Same thing with the Sunflower House. So it's really volunteer driven. We do have a paid staff, but it's based on mostly volunteerism. If someone comes in for our services, they can't pay anything, it's all donation based. If they can't pay, they don't pay. Yeah. But if somebody gives $1, they give $1. We have stories that always gives me chills is when, we'll have something, $1, check for $1 will come in an envelope. and that'll be somebody will pay for a month worth of meals because out of pride. It's just out of pride, and that just warms my heart. Just because they want to do something to give back.
Yeah,
and people, their expectations is that it's a service that's just available. There's endless money for it, and right now we have a waiting list. I have a waiting list that's going to approach 700 for Meals on Wheels by the end of the year.
Yeah,
so the planning needs to be there. Planning needs to be there ahead of time. What are you going to do for your loved one at a time? Is there enough funds there? Where are they living? Are they going to be taken care of? And what's the next step?
Yeah, we've had that conversation so many times in our Helping Seniors world because Nancy and Karen, who handled the incoming calls, last year was over 5,450 of them. And, they're tough situations. And so one of the ways to solve some of this is there has to be more funding for seniors. It's just flat out. If we're gonna do the Meals on Wheels because it's so important. So this is my limited understanding, Tom, and please jump in, correct me if I'm getting some of this wrong. But number one, it's not only that the nutritional value of what you're doing to help seniors is so important, but it's actually kind of also that well check thing that goes as part of it. And I know there's a lady in our office, her name is Vicki Moore Insurance Solutions, and I don't know if she's doing it actively right now, but she's been a volunteer in that meal delivery program. And she said, Kerry, it doesn't take a lot of time. It's not like they're asking you to spend your whole week or something. It's just like if you'll give them a few hours, they can make use of that. Am I saying all that the right way, Tom?
Absolutely. So we are that safety check, we're that safety valve, we're that socialization. A lot of our seniors are isolated, and when you come out and that one person delivers that meal, it's that couple of minutes of a conversation, a smile, but also us knowing that our clients are well. We save lives every year.
Absolutely.
Whether somebody has fallen, or something has happened to them, they don't look well. We make sure that we check. We contact the emergency contacts. We do wellness checks with the sheriff, with the police. So it's essential what we do as a service. Now, as far as a delivery route. Sure, we have different programs. We have an adopt a route program where we look for local businesses to deliver a route.
Okay.
When that happens, they can do it on their lunch hour. We'll create a smaller route so they can do it in a quicker time.
Wow.
So, and then we have larger routes depending on the area. So you figure about an hour and a half to deliver a route max, and we can make them smaller. So it doesn't take a lot of time. We have some people that do it 1 day a week. We have some people that do it 3 or 4 days a week, and usually those people are retired. And most of our volunteers are retired. And seniors themselves. I've actually had, just a few years ago, I actually had a volunteer driver who was 101.
Wow.
Driving. He was driving, and his daughter would drive with him, and she was in her 70s, and he was absolutely amazing. He passed at 104.
Wow.
Yeah. So we call it the Ed Kid, and we do an Ed Kid Award for that volunteer award each year. So it doesn't take a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and I guarantee you deliver a route once, you'll fall in love.
Yeah. If somebody says, hey, I'd like to do that, or at least like to get more information, what's the best way for them to find out about that?
Same thing. It's on our website, the agingmattersbrevard.org website, and also calling the 639-8770. We can direct you to our volunteer. We also have our Retired Senior Volunteer Program, RSVP, which signs up volunteers. We have this program that when you, if you're above the age of 55, you can sign up, and then we actually get credit for that in the program and actually provide some extra benefit to the senior as well. Costs nothing for the senior to do it, and then it actually makes us a stronger program as we go.
That's why we all have to work together on this. I mean, I hope that's one thing that all of us can walk away with from today's radio show is that the more we do together, it shows our government leaders, our business leaders, that there is a group of people who's very serious about the things of seniors, and we need their help to do the best we can. I wanted to just use that also as a moment to say, as we're throwing phone numbers and things out there, don't worry if you were driving and you didn't have a piece of paper to jot it down. Just remember, you can always call us at Helping Seniors of Brevard. And I'll give that number here again in a second, but it's the number that we always give to you, because if you call up Karen or Nancy and you say, hey, I heard them talking about volunteering with Aging Matters, but I didn't get to jot the number down, we'll get you that number. We'll get you connected. And so that number is 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770. Denise.
Yeah, and if I may, I just want to speak on what Tom just said. I'm working with a woman who I just said is 89 years old, and in her own words, she said to me yesterday, and this is why the timing is so great that I'm meeting you today. She said that Meals on Wheels was an absolute blessing to her, an absolute blessing. And I feel like it was meant to be that I met you today. And she doesn't have any family, and she's a very proud woman, and she doesn't like to take from anybody. And again, the socialization because of the person that would drop off the meals made her day. And please, if you have time in your schedule to volunteer for this amazing organization, please reach out because they do so much good for the community.
Yeah, I want to echo that because I was telling Tom as we were trying to figure out schedules when we could get together. And he's cleared actually an hour for coming back to help us on Helping Seniors Radio on June 19th. And you're going to actually bring V Monopoly, who is your Director of Development. And we're really going to have like that full hour to go into, because I am amazed at how many lives you're able to touch because you really have so many different programs going on.
Yeah, and I'm excited about bringing V in here. So, we all work together. We all do everything as a community. Our tentacles kind of go wide, So where you help us with a lot of our programs, referrals come from everywhere. Yeah. We also reach out with our funding to help, like Brevard Alzheimer's. We're funding their grandparents raising grandchildren. We help them with some of their funding. So it's the community is really tight. Yeah, it's really tight, and we're becoming tighter as we go. Because we need to. As we come into the services, as it comes into that June 19th, we'll go into more in-depth detail about all of our services that we provide, but also the fact that each one of our services has waiting lists. Yeah, and that's the heartbreaking part.
It's the good part and it's the bad part, because it's good that so many people recognize there's a service that needs to be there. And then the challenge for us is that as all these people are asking for these services collectively, we have to figure out how we're going to do the job of taking care of the seniors. That's why we call this show It Takes a Village. And so I'm really excited that we're embarking on this whole conversation. Again, like Joe Steckler, our president and founder, when he first, I always call him, he can't retire. He's 90, going on 91 today, and he still works every single day on helping seniors. And the thing that I thought was amazing is his last command he's a retired Navy captain. His last command in the Navy was the retirement home that they have there in Gulfport, Mississippi. So then he and his lovely wife Terry, retire to Satellite Beach near then it was the Air Force Base. Now it's the Space Force Base. Joe can't stay retired, so he gets busy and starts building up the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, gets that established, endowed, gets the Joe's Clubs built, and then says, but we're not doing enough for seniors. And so we got to create Helping Seniors of Brevard. And here we are now going on into our 13th, almost 14th year of service in the community and trying to fit that niche of helping seniors get connected to resources where they exist. And I guess the point of what I'm trying to bring together is there's so much need that we need to really raise the roof in terms of letting folks know at every corner what the needs for seniors are. Because typically when you stand and talk to a person at a time, they get what the challenges are that seniors, and they usually can wax back onto their own situation. Oh, I had this happen with my grandmother. I had this happen in my own family. So everybody has a touch to this. And I think the job ahead of us collectively is how do we motivate everybody to really take a serious look and help us to do the thing. So I think the more we can elevate the good work that's being done 100% local. Aging Matters is 100% Brevard County. Everything that you do impacts seniors here in Brevard County. Denise, you are specifically for Brevard County. You, Carlos, are specifically for Brevard County. We always say, when you donate into Helping Seniors and help us keep this going, it's not going someplace out yonder. It's 100% right here, Brevard County. And the thought process is that all life at the end of the day is lived local, right? Like we watch national TV, we'll watch stuff that's going on out there, but what really matters is what's going on in our own community. I wanted to get you guys to just drop some comments on that as it pertains to seniors and specifically here in Brevard County, because, you know, we get calls all the time. Here's an example. I've heard Joe talk people out of retiring to Florida. They'll say, oh, I'm up here in New Jersey. I'm going to retire down to Florida. And Joe will say, okay, let's talk about what you have to work with. Well, I'm up here and I get my housing voucher and I get my meal voucher and I get this and I get that. And he'll go, and what about your income? Well, I have my Social Security check. He'll say, please don't move, because Florida isn't that kind of a tax state. You paid your taxes there. They have those services. That's not how we're set up in Florida. And so those programs that you're speaking about don't exist. So if all you've got is your Social Security, please stay in New Jersey where you have that support that you can work with. So I was thinking about that, like, that's why everything that we have to do has to be local, because we're familiar with what Brevard County can and cannot offer. And I just want to get you guys to comment. Denise?
So everything you're saying is so true in regards to things being local and being educated on our services. There was a lovely woman who came to our wellness series last week, and she was literally in tears by the amount of support that she received from the panel.
Wow.
And I was moved to tears, to be honest, because she just heard about our wellness series through Facebook.
Yep.
And she had a situation. She didn't know where to turn, so she figured that she would just show up, and was moved to tears by everybody who was part of our nonprofit that was going up to her and offering her assistance. And now she has a place to turn. And I just thought that was amazing, and I just want people to know that that's what our nonprofit is about. If we don't know or we can't help them, then we know who to send them to, like Tom at Aging Matters, and you know, for those meals. So it was such a feeling of pride to know that we were able to help that woman.
Yeah, it takes a village, right? We're back to that whole concept.
You know, Kerry, one thing that really surprised me is once we got VA approved was how many veterans are here in Brevard County.
Yes.
And need benefits, and they don't know about them.
Yeah.
Or they don't know how to apply for them.
Yeah.
So we really help the veterans here how to apply for the VA health and how to get the benefits, and then the funding. You have to wait for that funding. So we help get that funding for them while they're waiting to be approved.
So
and there are so many that need that, and they don't have it or they don't know where to go. So instead of having an 800 number to call, and maybe you get through to somebody or not, they call us. We'll teach them how to get that. We can help them apply. I'll even go to someone's home, and and help them apply on the computer because they don't know anything about getting on a computer, applying on a form, and filling that out. So we even do that, and they are so appreciative of that. So the veterans is, you know, the big thing here in Brevard County, and we need to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tom, any closing thoughts? I want to make sure before we close out the show that we make sure that everybody has a good way to get in touch with Aging Matters, whether you want to volunteer, you want to learn more about the different programs you guys offer, or maybe just to support you when you're out dancing and help keep all the good work going.
Well, I appreciate the support on the Dancing for the Space Coast, but another campaign, you're talking about the It Takes a Village.
Yeah.
Second time this week that I've used that.
Yeah.
I just did an interview with BBN News, and exactly what I was talking about, because we have a Feed the Need campaign.
Good.
Again, we are not taking on any Meals on Wheels clients because of going back to pre-COVID funding.
Yeah.
So we're bringing that down. So right now, again, the waiting list is going to go up to 700. You ask how Brevard County can help. Well, it goes back to that simple ideology of, do you give up a coffee? Do you give up a McDonald's meal? Do you give up something, one lunch a week, one lunch a month, where it's that $5, $10 of recurring donation, or a $25 recurring donation? That's what we need for our Feed the Need campaign. That's what will make a difference. 600,000 people in Brevard County.
We're going to figure this out before you guys get back on the radio. We're going to figure out a way to jointly make the community aware that they can help make this happen. Denise, how do people get in touch with you one more time before we're out?
Yes, so my cell phone number is 321-549-9045. That's Senior Care Authority.
And Carlos, your number for Synergy Home Care.
321-340-3840. Oh my God, I forgot my number, 3840. And my website is Synergy Home Care of Palm Bay.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, guys. It takes a village. We'll see you next time on Helping Seniors Radio. Thanks for joining us today.